So I'm Ted Brockwood. I am with Uber Strategist, and we're here representing Big Way Games and their new game, BDSM, Big Drunk Satanic Massacre.
That's a long title. So what's this game all about, Ted?
So the idea is that 30 years ago there was a war in hell where humanity came down, took over hell, took it away from Satan, and basically started gentrifying it. They literally started moving human beings down there. They started moving restaurants, like there's an evil version of McDonald's called Big Whack that's down there. And Big Whack actually found out that if you grind up demons and imps, they turn into delicious hamburger meat that humans get addicted to. And so it's been about 30 years, and you, as Lou, Satan's son, have had enough of this. You know, it's just embarrassing that the demons of hell are being turned into food. And so you're grabbing your guns and blasting your way through hell to take it back.
Now at its core, the game is a twin-stick shooter, very Diablo-esque, but I think what makes it stand out is the amount of satire and humor the game has.
Yeah, the whole idea is taking all that stuff and being sort of, you know, the overused term, but very meta about it, basically saying, remember all this stuff that was okay back in the 90s and early 2000s, sort of the TNA comments in games and that, it's saying it's kind of silly in a modern lens, and so the character might say those comments, but he says them sort of sarcastically and ironically. He really gets that, yeah, that stuff doesn't work anymore, but at the same time still has fun saying them and doing certain things, like he walks into a room and he sees it's full of red barrels and he just says, really, exploding barrels, really? And that sort of thing.
I feel like that Ion Fury tried to do that, but it kind of fell flat because they were more serious.
It could be. I haven't actually seen that one, but you know, that's always the challenge. Is people want to do that, but they take it a little too seriously. They don't get just run with it, you know, have fun with it, and so that's the idea here.
Can you talk about some of the shows and pop culture things you parody specifically in your game?
There's a whole lot in there. Big Way is, you know, there's references to Family Guy, there's references to South Park, there's even references to, you know, going on movies. A Clockwork Orange, for example. There's the health power-up, or the health potion, is milk, which seems kind of weird, but then you remember that's a throwback to Clockwork Orange, where the goons in the movie, before they went out on a bit of the old ultra-violent rampage, would chug down drug-laced milk. And so that actually is the sort of homage in this game.
So how many different weapons and biomes are we going to experience in the game?
There's 6 core weapons, you know, the stuff like machine guns. There's a BFG, you know, again, homage to Doom, for example. So you've got the 6 core weapons. Every weapon has a secondary, so the AK-47 also has a grenade launcher. The rocket launcher has a multi-rocket launch ability. And then there's special abilities. For example, you can buy perks and power-ups where Lou can summon imps to help him out, or he has a built-in rage ability, which is when he gets enough kills, he builds up the rage, and his horns become like a powerful flaming laser beam that he can use for a short burst.
What are some of the challenges when creating a game and marketing it when it's so raunchy and you know, it's based in humor, but it's really raunchy?
On the development side, I mean, I'm not really involved in that, but I know from working closely with the developer, the hard part is just where is the line? You know, there's silly, and then there's sometimes it just doesn't work. It feels like, you know, a 12-year-old writing a gag. And you have to go back and work the gag over and over again, or really look at, does the raunchiness fit here? What's a better way to work it in? And then on the promotion side, which is our side of things, it's just, how do we show that it's not just being raunchy for raunchy's sake? It's not just pulling these gags that some people might go, you know, they might just groan and sigh. You say, well, no, it actually fits because we're making fun of all this old stuff while, you know, enjoying it and making it part of the overall plot line.
You guys also have a really interesting censorship options. Talk a little about that.
Sure. So to make it fit with different markets, there's 3 levels of censorship. Well, there's technically 2 levels of censorship and 1 completely uncensored mode. So instead of saying, well, you can only have this kind of game in America, we say, okay, you can have you just go into the menu and choose BDSM mode, which is everything's unlocked. It's exactly as the developer wanted it to be. Or you can switch to pixelated mode, which basically takes the nudity and covers it up with, instead of the floating black bars, pixelation. and it gets rid of certain cut scenes that might be, to people who have an aversion to sexual content in the game, that's what it's stronger for. And then there's the full-on guns mode, which is just all the sex is removed and it's just guns, guns, guns everywhere. There's actually a sex shop in the BDSM mode that gets replaced with a gun shop in gun mode.
So I'm just curious, with all these things happening, all this satire and humor and stuff, did you have any trouble like performing on multiple platforms? Like getting the game on multiple platforms for approval?
The content definitely makes it a challenge. You have to take each platform as it is, and then in each country there's the shifts there. So certain platforms may say, reduce the sex a little bit, where some have said, you're going to need to reduce it a lot. And then on Steam, you can, well, frankly, do what you want, So everything's in there on Steam.
So when does the game come out, and what platforms will be available at launch?
Aiming for September 26th. It's looking like it should be then. It might slip a week. Finalizing Xbox certification, so going back on your question of platforms, yeah, it'll be PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
Do you have any plans for Nintendo Switch?
They're putting together a build and sending it over to Nintendo to see what they think.